like a Matrix super fan,
Yeah.
go see it in the theater. And if you're just a casual fan, if you didn't like the last two, that's basically your scale for this one. If you like the last two, then go see it in the theater. If not, watch it on HBO Max or do whatever you want. How about that, Blue?
Yeah. What if you only saw the first one?
Then you might be surprised.
Exactly.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. Well, we had some really exciting games, and then we had Detroit and Atlanta, 20-16, the final score. Lions side first, Bloom, and it's not that great when Tim Boyle gets the start. 24-34, 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. The touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 for 91 and a touch. No one did much of anything else. Jamal Williams, 19 for 77. Okay, Netflix, 11 for 29. All right, 3 for 22 as a receiver for Craig Reynolds. Josh Reynolds, 2 for 36. But anyway, Detroit side we could do very quickly, Bloom, because of the goof and all the problems that arose in Week 16.
Yeah, Week 16, lots of fantasy intrigue, lots of NFL intrigue, playoffs. But Cecil, I also love the intrigue of the top 5 of the draft and the way that it shuffles and reshuffles depending on these games as they hang in the balance. And we were watching the Jets and the Jags, and we were watching the Lions and the Falcons. And, of course, Dan Campbell's going to bite kneecaps. So there was actually a juncture in this game where the Lions were going to go for it on 4th and 1, got a false start penalty. So now it's 4th and 6. Around midfield, and then Dan Campbell calls a fake punt, and it works. And it makes you dream of an NFL where every coach coaches like Dan Campbell has this year, right? Like, always think of yourself as the 16 seed against the 1 seed. Like, you're totally outgunned, and you have to try to get every advantage you can in the game script. So you love that. Detroit really close in this one. They got a taste of winning. They want more, but they couldn't pull this one off. But hey, Tim Boyle was good enough to feed Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if we learn anything for fantasy, it's whoever the quarterback is next week against Seattle. Then we're going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who really is establishing himself by the end of this season now as the ideal for fantasy is what we're hoping for. Maybe not someone that's a number one in the offense, but somebody who's going to be a frequent target in an offense that is going to be challenged at making big plays. This team fought hard, including Jamal Williams and Craig Reynolds, and this running game that continues to come together. But Tim Boyle is your quarterback. You probably can't even beat Atlanta.
Probably can't even beat Atlanta. And Atlanta, well, they sometimes almost beat themselves, but not today.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts, 6 for 102. Russell Gage, 4 for 39. Cordero Patterson with a rushing touchdown, 7 for 14 on the ground, and then 1 for -1 as a receiver. Hayden Hurst gets a receiving touchdown. Nobody started him, but Atlanta did enough to win, and is that necessarily a good thing?
Right. They're technically still alive. Cordero Patterson fantasy teams may not be still alive. All he got was that touchdown. Not doing a lot in the passing game. The magic might have run out. Buffalo next week. You can run on Buffalo. Can you run on Buffalo if you're Atlanta? I don't know. Kyle Pitts came up big in this game. Now, he's going to have a good season in cumulative terms, in rookie tight end terms. But we know in terms of impact on the games, impact on fantasy, it was concentrated, at least it's coming here, at the end of the season. Russell Gage not doing as much in this game. And when Atlanta's in the lead and controlling a game, then Russell Gage isn't going to do as much. And he had a fumble at the end of the game, again, that almost opened the door for the Lions to pull this off. And there was just a little bit there. We'll get to the Jets and the Jags, where it looked like maybe the Lions playing this scrappy, kneecap-biting ball might still get the number 1 pick, at least after Week 16. Atlanta's still technically alive in the playoff race, which shows you how bad the NFC has been outside of the top 5 teams this year.
Yeah, and to that I say double true. And to that I say Tampa Bay and Carolina, we're going to be a while before we get a good game. Just a little bit longer, Bloom. We've got Baltimore Cincy coming up next. But let's go Buccaneers. And 32-6, the final score over Carolina. Tom Brady, 232, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Didn't need to do much because he just threw to Antonio Brown all day. 10 for 101. Cyril Grayson, nobody started, 3 for 81 in this contest. Rob Gronkowski, you're thinking, okay, no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, going to be a lot of Gronk, 1 for 23. Cameron Brake got a receiving touchdown. It was all Antonio Brown. And then the ground game, you're like, no Leonard Fournette, going to be a lot of Ronald Jones and a dash of Keyshawn Vaughn. Well, yeah, but Vaughn more productive, 7 for 70 and a touch on the ground for Vaughn. Ronald Jones, 20 for 65 and a touch therein. Ronald Jones also a couple catches, 16 yards. So an easy day. We'll talk about why it was so easy with the Carolina side, Bloom.
Yeah.
But with Tampa side, they did what they wanted, and that meant some for some and nothing for others.
Yeah. Well, it's a more modest offense without all those big pieces. But this team has that comfort of a team that is a good team, a team that knows who they are, and a team that just takes care of their business, even without Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette. From a fantasy standpoint, Ronald Jones got the workload you were looking for. He did get a touchdown because they controlled the game. Keyshawn Vaughn with the long touchdown run didn't do much on his other touches, but showed something on the touchdown run to give you a little more optimism for him going forward, at least maybe working his way into a committee, having something to offer in the NFL. And otherwise, Cyril Grayson, hey, the sprinter, he's hung around NFL and now making an impact when they need him. Not Jalen Darden, not Scott Miller, not Tyler Johnson. Cyril Grayson, but not much from Tom Brady, in part because not much from Gronk. And see, so we've had a really good story with Gronk this year. For a little while, he looked like good old Gronk. It was really happening. It's late into the season now, and he's gotten banged up already this year. Maybe he just doesn't quite have it, not without other targets to take attention away. But it doesn't matter. Tampa's not getting a ton of attention necessarily as a Super Bowl favorite. They're right on track, right where they need to be, and on to the Jets next week.
On to hot Sam Darnold talk. We knew we would see him. Matt Rule said we would. We did. Cam Newton, before he was out and Sam Darnold was in, 5 for 42 on the ground and 61 yards passing and a pick. Here comes Sam Darnold, 15 to 32, 190 yards. No touchdowns, no INT. Shi Smith, who I love in Dynasty, by the way. Very good at the Senior Bowl. 3 for 86 in this one. Robbie Anderson, 5 for 58. DJ Moore, 5 for 55. And then, well, because Cam Newton was the leading rusher, you can just tell Chuba Hubbard, 6 for 9. Just wasn't there for anyone else outside of players you wouldn't start. I guess with Carolina, we're in the watch the dynasty Shi Smith type of players moving forward.
Right. Yeah, there's a trash heap. It's pathetic. Awkward even. Watching this team makes me feel awkward. Like, come on. Cam Newton, Sam Darnold platoon? This is where it's come to, right? Is there any team more desperate to do something about their quarterback position than Carolina? And this shows you where desperation gets you. It gets you a quarterback platoon in game of Sam Darnold and Cam Newton. Actually, Newton's first drive was good, and Amir Abdullah could have had a touchdown, and he fell down. So that was kind of this team. Cam Newton threw bad interception. Sam Darnold come in, actually makes the play, keeps it alive, that long one to Smith, your favorite, have to settle for a field goal, and just a team that turns everything into mediocrity at best. And DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, okay, they weren't complete wastes, but you're not excited to play them next week against New Orleans, that tough New Orleans defense. And again, it circles the theme here, right? Every week I come back to the same closing note on Carolina. I mean, we're right back where we started 2 years into Rule and Tepper and all this, and we're no closer to wherever this is ending up. Maybe this is just where it's going to end up.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And maybe it'll be like Joe Judge. Just keep him. Just, why not? Why upgrade? Just keep him. It's fine. It's totally fine. The Ravens and Bengals are up next. This is finally a decent game, Bloom, although 41-21, how decent was it really? Don't blame Josh Johnson, who our buddy Josh has played for about half the league. I think it's 14 teams, Bloom.
Right.
For Josh Johnson, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. You got this because Tyler Huntley on the COOF list. Lamar Jackson didn't travel because of the ankle. So Mandrew, 8 for 125 and a touch. Okay. James Prochet, nobody started, but 7 for 76 in this one. Rashad Bateman gets the other touchdown and 4 for 26. Marquise Brown, 5 for 44. Devontae Freeman with a rushing touchdown. So again, don't really blame Josh. He's just trying, man. He's just trying. And didn't get it done today for Baltimore in this COOF list. It's made everything so up in the air for fantasy this year.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Well, look, this is the Ravens team that started out the season with 15 guys on IR or something like that. Just unprecedented, right? This is the team that had practices where multiple guys got ACL tears. This is the team that went through their top 3 running backs before the season even started. before we even had a game, right? So the Ravens were already coming into the season this way. Cecil reminds me, I remember as a kid growing up for a bit in New Mexico, they didn't have any inspection laws for vehicles. Like anything that roadworthy could get on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Ravens have kept this thing on the road, but it's
like Mad Max.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like trash bags over the windows because they're broken. You know what I mean? The smoke coming out of the hood sometimes. But the quarterback still makes the offense go, that engine of the offense, right? And I want to talk a little bit about Josh Johnson today, Cease, if you don't mind indulging me, because he's a Draft Guys TV alum.
He's our buddy, man. I love
He's
Josh.
our buddy. He's our buddy, yeah. Marshawn Lynch's cousin. Jim Harbaugh was his coach at University of San Diego. Isn't that interesting how that all intersects, right?
The Toreros.
Marshawn Lynch, his cousin, they were on a high school team together. Kind of the reason Marshawn Lynch
That's how we got This My Son.
This My Son.
Because we were talking to him about Josh, and he's like, "Oh, Josh, my son?"
Yeah. No, actually, it's his cousin. Yeah, we're all Marshawn Lynch's son. And we've seen now on two different teams, he comes in cold off the street, really a street free agent, and this is quarterback where you have to know the system and everything. And he makes the offenses have some pulse, some life. And he's been out of the league for 2 years. There is some flaw or malfunction in the mass NFL consciousness about quarterback play if Josh Johnson can't get a job. Clearly better than half the backup quarterbacks in the league? More? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, gives you a chance. Some of the quarterbacks we were watching this Sunday don't even give your team a chance. And Josh Johnson did that for a little while in this game. Made it so if you had Mark Andrews, you were happy. Made it Rashad Bateman, not that he was in lineups, but he had a good drive. And Marquise Brown wasn't necessarily there, but Josh Johnson, if in the chaos, okay, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to go with Tyler Huntley. Well, what am I going to do now? Am I going to play Ben Roethlisberger, Tua? Oh, why not Josh Johnson? He came through. He was a fantasy hero today, and maybe if you had Cincinnati players, he was a hero for you too because he tightened the game up to 34-21 or something like that. And that's when Burrow really put on the foot on the gas and helped people pull away in their fantasy matchups. The Ravens, the smoke's come out of the hood again. Playoffs feel like a long shot with the Rams up next week. Don't know who's going to play quarterback. I know who the Bengals quarterback is, though, Cease.
Right, and finish him a good way to look over at the Bengals side. And Joe Burrow, 525 yards, 4 touchdowns, no INTs. And for all the people that look way ahead on the schedule, like, oh, man, they face Baltimore in the second round of the playoffs. I don't know if I like that. You should have liked it. T. Higgins ended you 12 for 194 and 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase 7 for 125. Tyler Boyd, it's working. 3 for 85 and a touchdown. Joe Mixon 6 for 70 and a touchdown as a receiver, and then 18 for 65 and a rushing touchdown. So a little bit banged up. Fine, doesn't matter. He was out there scoring fantasy points and doing his dances like we've seen Joe Mixon do. What's he got? 21 touchdowns this year, whatever it is. It's a pretty high number.
Yeah, now that they're a winning team. What a change with this team, with Joe Burrow. And today felt like a culmination of the energy, the potential energy that was unleashed, this big bang of the new Bengals whenever they got the number 1 pick. This is part of why I like, not that we have a quarterback next year to look forward to, I like to track that, the destinies of franchises changing as the draft order settles itself out. But Burrow, before this game, there's a quote from Wink Martindale about, that was for Aaron Rodgers, that was for Devontae Adams. Joe Burrow, we're not putting a gold jacket on him yet, And you saw after this game, Joe Burrow, he's wearing a Santa hat, a Krusty Krab shirt, SpongeBob, and he was relaxed. It was weird. I've never seen Joe Burrow relaxed in a football setting. He even smiled. He smiled when they asked him about that quote. Is that why he went over 500? Maybe. Now, granted, you're the Bengals. You can't get too high on yourself. What has happened this year? Every time the Bengals get high on themselves, they get humbled. Because if they lose these next 2 games against Kansas City, oh boy, and then Cleveland, and nothing is ever a given when you're facing Cleveland, then they can still lose the division to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is just pathetic. Pathetic again, coming up. The idea of the Steelers in the playoffs just, turns my stomach. But this was, the filet mignon of fantasy today. And the matchup, you could see it coming in DFS. Hope you saw it coming. Burrow, I think, was the 4th highest total in league history. Sees Norm Van Brocklin. You talk about being a kid looking at those football encyclopedias when we only learn things through print and maybe film. Norm Van Brocklin was a name that came up a lot in those record books, and that's the kind of name you heard today. And also Matt Schaub, which was kind of weird. Anyway, the point is, Joe Burrow was that good. If we say Matt Schaub, that's really a Kyle Shanahan record, right? Or a Kubiak record. Joe Mixon, he got a 4th down touchdown. They were going for it on 4th down. Joe Mixon had a 50-some yard catch to put them over 500. They were clearly stunting on the Ravens. There's a Boyd touchdown with just a total breakdown in the secondary. The one decent, healthy cornerback in the coming to this game, Anthony Averett, gets hurt, carted off in this one. That's where the Ravens are at. And where Cincinnati is they just have to take care of business, really, the game against Cleveland. But why not try to just end it next week against Kansas City? Playoff preview? Well, if the Bengals can win, it could be.
You know what I think of when I think of Matt Schaub?
Huh.
Gary Kubiak said no thanks to Peyton Manning.
Oh, boy.
Because
I
they
have
had
Matt Schaub.
And Manning wanted to go to Houston.
Oh. How things
Just
could have
saying.
been so different.
Just saying. All right. It is a Broncos show. And Chargers, what the hell, bro? Like, okay. All right. 41-29. 41-29. Texans win. Never thought I would be saying that.
Yeah.
Over the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's talk about Justin Herbert. 336, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs in this one. Now, dealing without Austin Eckler, without Mike Williams, and hell, seemingly without Keenan Allen, although he did have 4 for 35. Justin Jackson, 11 for 64 and 2 rushing touchdowns, and then 8 for 98 as a receiver. So, yeah, Justin Jackson, you're happy. Joshua Kelly, not as much, 5 for 7. Okay, a catch for 14 yards. Keenan Allen, aforementioned, 4 for 35 in this one. Josh Palmer with the receiving touchdown and 5 for 43. Jared Cook, 3 for 44. Why am I reading this? Why do the Chargers continue to charger, Bloom? Because, well, they can't escape their past.
Yeah, something about the uniform. I don't know. And look, they did have a lot of players out for this game. It's going to test your depth, but this is why it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. Injuries aren't an excuse. Having players on the COOF list is not an excuse. And there aren't really any excuses for how this team played on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the ball. And Justin Herbert, again, we just have that. He's a variance quarterback. It reminds me more of Josh Allen earlier in his career. We didn't see this as much from Herbert last year. He slowed down as the season went on. But this year, the effectiveness is just, it comes and goes for him. And really it was Justin Jackson. And there's a fantasy karma outcome for you. You never thought you were going to be. Justin Jackson was on every waiver wire everywhere 2 or 3 weeks ago. And if you picked him up, if you got the drop, and you definitely had the clarity to play him with Eckler on the COOF list, that should have been easy because of the matchup. He crushed it. He was a golden ticket. Herbert had a pick 6. And that's the other thing about this game that's just, again, pathetic. The word pathetic comes up. Herbert has a pick 6. He's still in there in the last minute with the game decided, which to me just seems foolish, tempting fate. He did have a garbage time touchdown to Josh Palmer that helped you out. What happened to Jared Cook? What happened to Keenan Allen in this game, though? It just wasn't there. I wanted this team to make the playoffs. I wanted to see Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert, this alliance in the playoffs. Now I don't know if I want to. I mean, does this team deserve? Somebody's going to back into the play. Maybe it's the Dolphins. Someone's going to back into the playoffs in the AFC. And speaking of backing into the playoffs, it's probably not what's going to happen for Denver, but maybe they can keep the Chargers from doing it next week.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. And the Texans side of things, well, did they get their golden ticket with Davis Mills? There you go. 21-27, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Chris Conley, 3 for 60 and a touch. He loves Star Wars. Nico Collins, we love him. He loves Michigan, 3 for 33 and a touchdown there. Brevin Jordan, 4 for 56 again. Dynasty. Hello, Brevin Jordan on all of my teams. Rick Burkhead, 22 for 149 and 2 touchdowns. So just when you thought, hey, it's Brandon Cooks and nobody else, well, it was a lot of others this week for the Texans.
The Texans not nearly the most pathetic team this week. And a lot of it's because of Davis Mills. Yeah, they hit on this pick. At the very least, you have a replacement level NFL starter and a very good backup. But there's evidence that there's more there because CC was a small sample size quarterback. That's why he wasn't a first-round pick or a second-round pick, even though maybe some of his traits, some of the things he'd shown, if over a longer period, if he'd gone back to school, who knows where he could have ended up in this year's draft. But they got a hit. It looks like at the very least his field vision, his decision-making, some of the absolute foundation of the position. He's ready, This is great. Dare I say he looks, if you swapped him and Mac Jones, who would we be talking about as the sensation of rookie quarterbacks right now?
Right.
So this is great for this Texans team that has some things to settle this offseason with Deshaun Watson. And like you said, Nico Collins, there's some hope there for the future. Brevin Jordan, all these rookies. So maybe they did something with this first class, Nick Caserio. And then they get a win, shaking up the top 5 of the draft a little bit. But hey, at least they have a first-round pick this year. And it was Rex Burkhead. Cecil, the random name generator that is 2021 fantasy football. Now, I really want you to reach out to me if you had Rex Burkhead in your lineup, and that's why you won. Because the Texans' running game has just flatlined this year. So I have no idea what league is deep enough where you have to play Rex Burkhead. I know they're out there, so reach out to me and let me know. And I'll
with the screenshot, or else it didn't happen.
Right. Well, no, because and it's so great, see, because Rex Burkhead is someone we've probably talked a lot more about Rex Burkhead on the show than his actual fantasy relevance over the years, right? Because he was just one of those running backs who gets the most out of what he has. He's always
Swiss
been
Army
defined.
knife. The ultimate Swiss Army knife.
Right. And it has just persisted, too, through these catastrophic injuries. And you just see him come back, and you see him maybe with the best day of his career, one of the best days of his career for sure on this one. So you like seeing this from this team. They're going to go play San Francisco. Next week, San Francisco just lost a tough game to Tennessee. Look, Houston's announcing we're not going to be an easy out in these games. And the Chargers and the run defense, oh boy. And that's why even if they make the playoffs, I don't even know if I want to see them in the playoffs because they'll probably get drummed out when they're playing like this.
Yeah, just run. It's playoff football. Run the ball and win. Well, run the ball so Matthew Stafford doesn't throw 3 picks. I guess, that's what we're going to talk about with the Rams and Minnesota. Now, 30-23, the final score. The Rams do get the win, but Stafford, 197, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs. Cooper Kupp, 10 for 109. It was Odell Beckham Jr., 4 for 37 and a touch. There we go. Tyler Higbee, 5 for 41 in this one. Van Jefferson, 1 for 6. Oh. Sony Michel, 27 for 131 and a touchdown. Just when the Cam Akers news threw everybody off, right? What's it? Huh? And then it's 3 and Darrell Henderson's there. He didn't do anything. Sony Michel did it all. And Matthew Stafford almost gave it all away, but not yet. Rams 11-4, looking for a home Super Bowl in 2021.
Yeah, and you wonder with the way Matthew Stafford's playing. See, I know one of the names that we would throw out in connection with Stafford was Jay Cutler, And remember this? Yeah. Remember Smoking Jay Cutler? Smoking Jay Cutler is one of my favorite things in the history of the internet. Smoking Jay Cutler, and the Smoking Jay Cutler conveyed I don't care. I don't care. Yeah. So I threw I don't care. So I threw another interception. I don't care. So I threw third. I don't care. And those were some of the throws he was making in this game. See, so it was very reminiscent of Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford, where there's just a point where you're wondering, hey, if you don't have Calvin Johnson out there, what is the deal with some of these decisions that he is making, some of these throws that he's making? He can keep a play alive and then in this frantic moment make a throw that he never should have made and give up the ball deep in his own territory, or just throw a ball into deep double coverage for no good reason and throw an interception. And getting balls tipped, again, deep in his own end. The Rams had to overcome him to win this game. Sony Michel running tough, running hard downhills. Darrell Henderson actually has a good run in this game and comes out of that run with a knee injury. So going into the season with Akers getting hurt, Henderson had a chance to really show, hey, I still have something really to prove and contribute in the NFL. And he's a player that is useful, but I think if the Rams thought we can't lean on him, we can't make him the cornerstone of a running game, unfortunately, I think that is bearing out, and Sony Michel can. Sony Michel at least can absorb that punishment, keep that intensity. Also had a punt return touchdown. Again, when you look at this game, they won in spite of Matthew Stafford. Brandon Knight with a punt return touchdown. And then, of course, Cooper Kupp doing Cooper Kupp things. Tyler Higbee looked decent in this one. Odell Beckham had a touchdown. And they do get Baltimore next week. Did we hear what Joe Burrow did and company? So Odell Beckham, maybe you'll go back to him. Maybe even Tyler Higbee after the way the Baltimore pass defense looked. Maybe that could get Matthew Stafford straightened out. If it doesn't, you wonder how this team could win a Super Bowl with this quarterback playing like this.
And you wonder how long Minnesota's going to keep up the facade of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I'd like to tell you about my Lord and Savior, Kirk Cousins, because
every day.
he's not so very good at football, but he's got a huge contract. And he's not going anywhere. 315 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT for Kirk Cousins. Justin Jefferson, 8 for 116. KJ Osborne, 5 for 68 and a touch. Adam Thielen did play, 3 for 40. Tyler Conklin, 4 for 44. Alexander Madison, 13 for 41 and a rushing touchdown, and 3 for 29 as a receiver there as well. So put up a hell of a fight, worked through the mistakes from Matthew Stafford, but they weren't able to pay them off, Bloom, with a win on Sunday.
Yeah, no Dalvin Cook. That's, Alexander Madison had a touchdown, but he wasn't really that impactful. KJ Osborne did have a touchdown, did have a decent fantasy game. Also had a drop at the goal line that turned into an interception that really made the game into an uphill battle for them for the whole day, which this team isn't good enough to win. And Adam Thielen getting hurt. That's the other thing. Thielen comes out, makes a big play in the red zone. Okay, we're back. Adam Thielen making plays. And then there's another play in the red zone where he gets tackled around the ankle, and you can see him just pounding the turf. Like, you just see he could feel it. Well, this ankle doesn't have anything else to give me today. And, we'll see. Justin Jefferson, again, this just wasn't that big impact. You thought maybe this game could give you that, especially with this game script, but Kirk Cousins underachieving, Minnesota underachieving, a flat team, Justin Jefferson just coming right out and saying it, Cease, in the post-game comments that the team was flat. Yeah, and there's just, that change is pathetic. The team's not pathetic, but I think the idea of another season with Mike Zimmer is pathetic. They're gasping for air. They're still technically alive, but they're gasping for air, headed to face Green Bay.
Headed to Buffalo, New England. And Bloom, what is the Jack Nicholson meme where he's like nodding his head like, yes. I don't know what movie that's from.
Right.
Can't you just see Belichick being like, fine, you beat us. Who cares? We got you. We got you. Now, maybe it's just me being paranoid, but 33-21, the final score. Bills get that win. It was Josh Allen with 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. And, well, you had okay, let me run down the list. Cole Beasley on the Coof list. Gabriel Davis, I believe, as well, Bloom.
Yep.
So you had Isaiah McKenzie, 11 for 125 and a touch. Stephon Diggs, 7 for 85 and a touch. Nobody started McKenzie, but you started Diggs. You started Emmanuel Sanders, maybe 2 for 20. There you go. Dawson Knox, 2 for 11, but he did have a touchdown. And then we look at Josh Allen leading the way on the ground with 64 yards, but Devin Singletary, 39 yards and a rushing touchdown. Also 5 catches for 39 yards. You started Singletary. That's enough. So again, Buffalo does it, Bloom. They beat New England. Both of these teams are 9-6, and Belichick has them right where he wants them.
Maybe. I don't know, though. I don't think so. Buffalo moves back into the lead in the division. So all they need to do is beat Atlanta and the Jets, and they will have a home game in the first round, and it will increase their chances of going deep into the postseason again. So this is a massive win. And see, so I look at this matchup today, because this was in New England, as a game that shows that Josh Allen says, no, I've got the mystique. We've got the mystique. You have to figure out some crafty way to beat us. We're the big brother now in this matchup, and it's because of the quarterbacks. It's the comparison of quarterbacks. And Josh Allen, and look, Sean McDermott grew up too, because they were going for it on 4th down from the beginning. Even whenever it was like, 0 points, you're giving up an easy field goal if you don't convert on 4th down. And they were doing it again and again and again with impunity. Look, you can't punish us. And the Bills defense still is potentially an Achilles heel, but Josh Allen is not. And you would think maybe Belichick would be able to outmaneuver him without Beasley, without Gabriel Davis. No, sir. And you can just run down the heroes in this game, starting with Isaiah McKenzie, who I know is a player you covered in Denver, Cease. Big catch after big catch. Clutch. A clutch player. Clutch is a thing, and today Isaiah McKenzie had it. Because when you're in New England and you're making plays to have to beat New England, as this game kept tightening up at different junctures, Isaiah McKenzie kept making plays. Yes, you're going to play him next week. Beasley and Davis both are also out next week on the Coof list. Stephon Diggs making some plays. Dawson Knox just got a little touchdown at the end to ice it, so it wasn't a big day for him, but at least you got that. Devin Singletary. And look, Devin Singletary is going to give him this team everything they have. He's not going to push the pile. He's not a power running back, but he is a running back that's going to run with a lot of energy. He had a touchdown again. Some balance, that's the thing. And this team showing, and see, we've watched the emotional journey of this team. You talk about a team trying to exorcise the demons from their past. The Buffalo Bills. Oh, man, yeah. And there's been ups and downs. Even the game against Tampa was a loss. It was a loss to Tom Brady, their old nemesis. But it was a game that they grew up. And I think that things are coming together where this team is in the right frame of mind. They're aggressive. They're putting their fate in the hands of Josh Allen. They're making enough plays on defense. And then on the other side of this, you look at a New England team that still has to, they have to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars to make sure they go to the playoffs. They're going to the playoffs. But how far can they go in the playoffs with this quarterback?
Right, with their quarterback that's probably talked about a little bit too much. I don't want to turn it into sports talk radio in Denver, but I ranted this last week because all the time guys are like, well, they took Pat Surtain instead of Mac Jones. Mac Jones doesn't fit anywhere except New Orleans and New England. Okay, and God bless him. He's the greatest quarterback ever, except he's not. And we have to talk honestly about what he's doing and how he limits that team and how they're limiting him on purpose. Now, the future is bright with Mac Jones. There's tremendous football intelligence there. It's always about the intangibles. Scott McLuhan told me years ago, Bloom, the physical stuff's easy to see. So when we scout quarterbacks and we're like, what a big arm, and look at the athleticism, like that's super easy to see. It's the intangible stuff that you cannot see, the study habits, the football intelligence. Mac Jones, you got some work to do. A couple of picks today, 145 there. Jacoby Myers, 6 for 59. Kendrick Bourne, 2 for 33. I don't know anyone relying on these guys, so I don't know why I'm reading their names. Yeah. Hunter Henry, 1 for 9. Damian Harris, you rely on him. Oh, my God. 18 for 103 and 3 touchdowns. So they're going to try to run the hell out of the ball. And when you get to the playoffs, Bloom, as I stumble over my words, Damian Harris not stumbling for your fantasy team.
No. And that's what works. That's what works against the Bills. And that's reestablished from the first game when New England won. And I'm not trying to trash Mac Jones. Like you said, he's got a bright future. But you're not going to win because of him. Okay? He might help guide you to a win when other phases of the game are also working. But he's not going to overcome a day when you can't slow down Josh Allen. He's not going to make individual plays. The Bills' pass rush was really harassing him all day, and that's really him as a quarterback. Again, kind of more like Peyton Manning. Like once you get him off his spot, you're probably going to win the play, basically. And now, granted, Peyton Manning made quite a career out of that, but it was all Damian Harris converting on a 4th down, making a touchdown, finishing all the drives. And this team will likely go to the playoffs, but probably not go very far in the playoffs. And now that this sends them on the road to face a division winner to open the playoffs, it puts them further down that track. And who knows, we could be in a situation if we lose to the Jags where the Dolphins and Patriots are playing for a playoff spot in week 18. And at the very least, the Patriots are going to be maybe the obstacle for the Dolphins. So there's still some intrigue left for the Patriots this season.
Big time intrigue in our next game, or not. Jacksonville and the Jets.
Right.
Sorry, sometimes I can do it with a straight face. Sometimes I cannot. The Jets get the win, 26-21, the final score, as they're 4-11 now, and Jacksonville is 2-13. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence, 26-39, 280 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs in this one. Marvin Jones Jr., 8 for 74. Tavon Austin, 6 for 68. Laquan Treadwell, 4 for 54. James O'Shaughnessy, 4 for 49. And then Dare Ogunbowale, 17 for 57 and a rushing touchdown. Trevor Lawrence also had 37 yards on the ground. James Robinson out, 3 for 10. And a lot of fantasy GMs out as well that were just saying, James Robinson, give me something. Just give me a little bit. And you got nothing.
Yeah, it's sad. Sometimes it's just sad, and there's nothing to tell yourself to make it feel better. It goes out with an Achilles. Now, at least you tell yourself to feel better that Cam Akers may be back on a football field 5-6 months after tearing his Achilles, and he'll have a full offseason, knock on wood, to work out and be ready for 2022. But Dr. Gene, got to ask him, but I'm sure week 1 is questionable for James Robinson. It was the one good thing, even though Urban Meyer didn't understand that. Jacksonville's offense was competent enough. Dario Ogunbowale hanging out, getting the touchdown, and Trevor Lawrence moving the team down the field, having a chance to win this game. And no, it was not to be. Clock the ball on third down. Cease. You get the guys up to the line at like the 2-yard line. 13, 12 seconds left. You have no timeouts, I know. It's 3rd and goal. You can run a play. You don't have to clock the ball. You got everybody up to the line. That's what you have to do to run a play. I don't understand. Daryl Bell said we wanted to get our best play in there, and the play they ran sucked. They looked discombobulated. It didn't even work. If you're sacrificing 3rd down to be more composed on 4th down, you weren't composed on 4th down. And of course, I'm up here in Michigan right now, and the Detroit Lions fans, I feel for them, because I saw it in the balance. Hey, Trevor Lawrence, you can be a hero for Detroit. No. And see, this is what you get. This game was terrible. This is what you get if you say, what would be neat if there's a quarterback that goes number 1 and a quarterback that goes number 2. Let's have them play each other and see what that looks like. Blah. It looks like dog poop. So yeah, that's what they're going to look like next week against New England.
Get the poopa scoopa. Let's talk about the Jets side. Zach Wilson, 106 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs, but then 91 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown to go along with Michael Carter, 16 for 118 on the ground, 2 for 6 as a receiver. Braxton Berrios, 5 for 37. Tyler Kroft, 3 for 29. Keelan Cole, 2 for 25, and nobody started them. But the Jets get the win?
Yeah.
And what does that mean for their draft status?
Well, it's the long, you're right, they're going to fall in the draft, top 5 a little bit. But at the same time, Seattle lost to Chicago. So the pick they have from Seattle's moving up. So, hey, yeah, spoiler alert. So there's that. Zach Wilson had a few plays, at least to get excited about as a runner. Okay, well, that's something. Some of it was just Jacksonville's poor tackling. Josh Allen wasn't out there. Miles Jack wasn't out there. So poor tackling. You saw, and this is how they score touchdowns, right? Like it's Zach Wilson from 52 yards out. It's a throw to an offensive lineman. Chris McDermott caught a touchdown pass on 4th and goal even. And Braxton Berrios with a kick return. Braxton Berrios looked like, fast forward. He looked like he was on fast forward, and the rest of the field was just going at regular speed. Like, I want to know the next gen stats, top miles per hour for him, because he was flying. And by the way, it's a good time to revisit. Do you give players credit for special teams touchdowns in fantasy football? Because that could be the difference in a matchup today. I think you should get credit for it, right? If you played Braxton Berrios, you should get credit for it. But if it's not in the league software, it's not in the league software. A lot of people probably going today and looking, woo, I don't even really know if this counts. So something to think about, to review, make sure it reflects what you want it to reflect. The running game was excellent today with Michael Carter, so there's some hope for the future there. And, that's just where the Jets are. Hey, it's pretty good to be sitting. I don't care how bad your season is. If you have 2 top 10 picks, which they will have. They will have Tampa next week. They'll probably will put a whooping on them. But Robert Saleh, give it at least another year.
Another year, of course, and we'll continue to watch how things go. Another year for Jalen Hurts. Right, buying himself some time. 34-10 is the final score. The Eagles, well, they beat up on the Giants. That's not a surprise when you have Jake Fromm playing quarterback. Mike Glennon gets 93 yards, touchdown, and a pick. Jake Fromm gets 25 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. So let's please stop saying anything about Jake Fromm. Saquon Barkley, 15 for 32. Okay, there's that. 1 for -4 as a receiver. Kadarius Toney, 4 for 28. Kenny Golladay, 3 for 22. And Evan Ingram, 4 for 17. Bloom, let's give it another round for Daniel Jones and Joe Judge. Way to go, Giants. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry.
I know. And they're going to have probably two top 10 picks. Also, not nearly as cheery. We don't hear Dave Gettleman mentioned. Wow. Like the first half of this game was worse than a Bears game. It was terrible. It was some of the worst football that has been played all year. And it really was fitting with the item from Adam Schefter that they were going to keep Joe Judge and Daniel Jones. Look, this is how bad it was. They benched Jake Fromm for Mike Glennon. So this is like, bring in the other guy. But you said he was so bad that this guy should be in instead of him last week. I don't care. Put in the other guy. He just threw pick 6. I don't care. I mean, that's where the Giants are. This is just pathetic. Devontae Booker looks better than Saquon Barkley right now. I don't care. Give him $100 million and a 5-year extension, right? Oh, by the way, the Giants play the Bears next week. So that's like the football black hole. Do not stare directly into that game because it might eat you.
Yeah, this might run you over if you're the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, 199 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Devontae Smith, 5 for 80 and a touch. Lane Johnson, big man touchdown, 1 touchdown there as well. Kez Watkins, 3 for 43. Dallas Goedert, 2 for 28. Miles Sanders, 7 for 45. Boston Scott, 12 for 41 and a rushing touchdown. Jordan Howard, 9 for 37, and then 2 for 19 as a receiver. So weird how they would get this done. Tyree Jackson with the target. Anyway, be weird, Bloom, because if the Eagles win and win big like this, you're like, oh, they must have ran it 50 times, and Jordan Howard has 100 and Sanders has 100, and nope,
no,
none of that. They still won big.
Yeah, it was a lot of struggling with Jalen Hurts early. And look, this is Jalen Hurts, right? I mean, I guess at this point in his career, I don't know how much he's really going to truly develop. That he's just another variance quarterback. He'll be off. His process will be off. He'll be missing things, and then he'll make some inspired play, and you'll say, "Oh, well, if we can just get more of that, then this can be our guy." But from fantasy, it was a little bit underwhelming, but he got you this far. He's been one of the best fantasy picks all year. Had a great deep throw to Smith to finally get this offense going after they were morose for almost the whole first half. Miles Sanders, every time it feels like Miles Sanders is going to get going, something happens. Now it's a hand injury. So that's how we ended up with Jordan Howard. But then, no, not just Jordan Howard, Boston Scott getting the touchdown. So next week against Washington, which Philadelphia Eagles running back are we going to start? Well, I mean, probably neither. I don't know. Jalen Hurts can always vulture those touchdowns. And this was a one, Cease. I haven't seen this before. There was a touchdown, a short one, a really nice play that Hurts made to throw to Devontae Smith in the front corner of the end zone. Smith getting the toes down, and it was called a touchdown. And then they reviewed it and said incomplete. And then they reviewed the review. Don't ask me how this happens, but they reviewed the review and restored it as a touchdown. That actually happened. So sometimes the voice from upstairs says no.
Right. The voice from Las Vegas says no.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
There's a Vegas influence this year, dude. They're not even hiding it anymore. It seems very odd.
It's Jack
every
Easterby.
game.
Jack Easterby. That's who they always call. Jack Easterby makes the calls. He's the one that's making the plot of the NFL season. He's the one behind everything. And you can't get more than one good play out of this passing game. It's either Dallas Goedert or it's Devontae Smith. You're only going to get one or the other. You're not going to get both. So that undermines your confidence, again, going into that matchup. This team's very much still alive for a playoff berth. I still feel like, truly the question of whether you want to go ahead. I mean, look, I don't think that there's a choice for Philadelphia to go forward with confidence as Jalen Hurts as their starting quarterback. I think they're going to go ahead with him as their starting quarterback, but I don't know that they're truly sold on him. I haven't seen anything to be truly sold on Jalen Hurts as a long-term answer, but again, like you can win with him, not necessarily because of him. And that's where the Eagles are right now. It's been an odd season for him, an odd season for them, but one for fantasy that worked out, especially if you played the defense today. By the way, again, that's the Chicago defense against the Giants next week.
Somebody Photoshop Easterby in the architect seat from the Matrix, like, hit you 4. They will call Devontae Smith a touchdown. You've already made the choice. It's already your choice to be the touchdown for Devontae Smith. Yeah. Oh, boy. A few games left, including a couple of stinkers. Let's get Bears in Seattle. Bears in Seattle, it's not a stinker. It's a good game. All right, Bears fans. 25-24, Chicago gets the win. Nick Foles at quarterback. Goes 24-35, 250 yards, 1 touchdown. No INTs. It was, Darnell Mooney, 5 for 57. It was David Montgomery, 21 for 45 and a rushing touchdown. And then 7 for 61 as a receiver. Good job. Jimmy Graham with the 1 touchdown, 2 for 30. Cole Kmet, 4 for 49. Khalil Herbert also had a rushing touchdown. Love that guy. Reminds me so much of Ahman Green when Ahman Green was returning kicks for Seattle. So everyone just wait. It's there with Khalil Herbert. Just you wait. Well, you didn't have to wait today, Bloom, because the Bears got that win.
Yeah, right. Save Matt Nagy's job or something like that. I don't know. Hey, Nick Foles. It was always Nick Foles the whole time. It should have been Nick Foles. Maybe this team could have won 6 games or 7 games this year if they had Nick Foles as their quarterback. It was sort of a fun game to watch, played in the snow. One thing that stands out is David Montgomery. And that dude, really this whole Bears team sees. I mean, let's just talk about this, right? Like, we've been watching the Bears for how many years now, and you turn on a Bears game and you feel like, I mean, I know that maybe any individual game is in question, but we know this team is not going anywhere as far as the season is concerned. Even when they made the playoffs last year with Mitchell Trubisky, it's like the team is going nowhere. We all know this team is going nowhere. So how do you continue to play hard week after week when everybody knows it's going nowhere? You know, you have to feel that or understand that on some level, that we all look at this team and think this is a dead end team. And there's David Montgomery, man, like in a Marshawn Lynch, Frank Gore kind of way. Just he's just going to leave everything he has out on the field. And then Jimmy Graham revenge game. So that was an interesting moment. They go for 2. They make it at the end. Khalil Herbert still looks good, by the way, on his touchdown. Otherwise, you're not counting on the Bears passing game. Anyway, again, the Bears in this, here's your Bizarro 2021. Well, it'll be 2022 by then. The Bears can, no matter what, the Bears are going to make one of their first-round picks. I'm sorry, the Bears can beat the Giants, which will improve the value of the first-round pick of theirs. It will decrease it, but the Giants will still win. I'm confusing myself because when these two teams play, Cease, I feel like it's like that. What was that horror movie where like you watch the thing on the TV and it sucks? Well, Poltergeist sucked you into the TV, but
right.
Was the
was
Ring?
It the Ring? The Ring, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you watch this game, you might bring a curse on your family for at least like 3 generations.
Based on a Japanese horror film, I believe. And it's always better. Like whenever you say it's based on some European blah, blah, blah.
Oh, always
watch
better,
the original.
yes.
It's always better.
Always.
It's always better. Seattle, always better with Rashad Penny. I don't know. He's good. He's not good. He's good. Is he hurt? Who the hell knows? 17 for 135 and a touch. Okay, there you go. Gerald Everett, 4 for 68 and a touch. DK Metcalf, 2 for 41 and a touch. He forgot what it felt like. Tyler Lockett, 3 for 30 in this one. And then Russell Wilson, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INT. So, again, fun to watch in the snow, unless you're a Seattle fan that had to sit and watch that in the snow as Russell Wilson lost to Nick Foles.
Yeah. Season, I'm just going to go there, right? I mean, this is sewing circle stuff. Like, it's like a couple, like you all know that they might be getting a divorce. You hear rumors about a divorce. This is a divorce coming, but yet you see them out in public and you make small talk, right? So the small talk is, how did the Seattle Seahawks do today? But really all you're thinking about is Russell Wilson. Is this it? Is this it for Russell Wilson to this team? And he hasn't been playing well. He hasn't been playing that well. And you did have that deep touchdown to open to Metcalf. You did have Gerald Everett getting a touchdown, so at least he's over that game that he basically lost for them and almost lost. Rashad Penny has snow tires. We know that at least. Every time he gets at least 12 carries, he's money. But that's only happened like 4 or 5 times in his career. So what do you do with that? I think he's about to go to free agency. And this team all collapsed at the end. Just straight up collapsed. So, you know, this is a weird thing. Russell Wilson's Seattle team is a loser team. This is a team that finds a way to lose. Russell Wilson doesn't find a way to save it at the end like the hero. So will he be a hero for someone else? And Detroit, hey, it's a team that might beat Seattle. I don't know. If Chicago can beat them, Detroit can.
Yeah, to that, you just, well, the world may never know. Well, we'll know next week. Bloom, I don't even want to talk
pathetic.
About
this is pathetic. This is why the theme this week is pathetic. Have you noticed these?
Yeah, pathetic. And the Steelers, the worst 7-1 team in NFL history. I mean, we'll talk about it, Bloom. And this is not sour grapes or whatever. And I mean, it's Kansas City. For the love of God, nobody should have been picking Pittsburgh at all. I don't care if you're the biggest Steelers honk. Where's Duck King or that one guy's like, you're a fake fan. Okay, yeah, whatever. The Steelers should have won. How about that? You're going to say that? We got Terry Bradshaw's every single one of his country albums. Fake fan. Whatever. Steelers are garbage.
Play me or trade me.
Steelers are straight garbage. I don't want to talk about the Deontay Johnson touchdown. I don't want to talk about Najee Harris. What's he got, 1,000? Does he get 1,000? Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to talk about Byron Pringle with the 2 touchdowns or McCall Hardman. They made McCall Hardman the thing. And, you know, of course, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Koof and non-Koof and Clyde Edwards, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, okay, 36-10. They're lucky it wasn't 50-0.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just talk about this one thing, and then we'll follow it up with Denver and Vegas.
Exactly. It's a Steelers show. It's a Broncos show.
It's a Steelers show and a Broncos show, and it's a headache.
Yeah, it's sad. You got Deontay Johnson, garbage time touchdown. It's sad. It's another time. See, there's been at least 2 or 3 times this year where you can feel the collective audience feeling sorry for Ben Roethlisberger. Honestly, you feel bad for him. Like it's like someone. No, I'm not comparing Ben Roethlisberger directly to Muhammad Ali, but like the fights late in Muhammad Ali's career. But like, why is he out there? I mean, maybe he can still throw a punch that lands sometimes, but he shouldn't be out there. And that's how it feels watching Ben Roethlisberger against a good defense. Yeah, the Chiefs have a good defense now. And we'll see. And I mean, it's just pathetic. Steelers playing Cleveland next week. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes. Remember, he threw 6 touchdowns against the Steelers the only time he played them. Whatever the Steelers defense has, whatever kind of mojo they have, Patrick Mahomes just squashes it. I mean, it has no effect on him whatsoever. And it didn't matter they didn't have Kelsey. It didn't matter that Tyree Hill didn't even do anything. So maybe you survived that, maybe you didn't. In fantasy terms, maybe you got lucky with Byron Pringle. Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets hurt in this one, so Darrell Williams all of a sudden looking very good. Derek Gore doing some things in this game too. So you're seeing the depth for this team tested at running back and coming through. Like you said, even Hardman got a touchdown. Edwards-Helaire, before he got hurt, had a play with a touchdown where Highsmith and Spillane both had a clear shot at him, and they kind of ran into each other instead of him, and he scored a touchdown. That's the Steelers' defense in this game. Steelers' offense, pathetic. Steelers' defense, pathetic. Kansas City, well, boy, it feels like a dream that we woke up from when we were worried about them, right? Again, a fantastic, scintillating game against Cincinnati next week.
That's going to be a big one, and a big one. Has Vic Fangio been fired? Like
every day.
Oh,
every day.
Best thing
every day. Every day.
That's the only way that he has value. A great defensive coordinator, fine, but put him in the line of Dick LeBeau and Dom Capers. What? Jim Haslett. I mean, how many? Greg Williams. How many times have we seen this bloom? Like, yeah, you can put up a great defense unless you can't stop the Raiders in the second half. And this was the one of the 3 games. Broncos have to win out to go to the playoffs. Don't even get me. Never tell me the odds. But this was the one you think, okay, Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs. Well, they get this one, and then Chargers, Chiefs, whatever, and you put up a fight, and you just missed the playoffs, and maybe Fangio saves his job. No, and no. Now, the early buzz was, Bloom, that there would be no firings in the regular season for the Denver Broncos. Be that as it may. Can the firing start in the regular season? I don't ever want anyone to lose their job. Fine. Except Pat Shurmur and Vic Fangio and Tom McMahon, because they're not good at football, and you're football coaches. So, it didn't matter. Drew Lock playing today didn't matter, right? Like, Lock, he's going to spark the team. Like, nope. Didn't matter with Jerry Jeudy. Stop going on social networking, dude. Going at back and forth with Eli Apple. I don't know if you saw that, Bloom, but dude, if you're getting blanked and then you have a big drop on a key drop for the Broncos, like, dude, just stop. Just stop. You're not Justin Jefferson. You're not even Van Jefferson. I'm like, come on. So, like, just get off of Twitter, dude. Like, you'd save yourself some hassle. Go out and make it. How about this, Jerry Jeudy? Make another video of you running in sand and practice, right? You run great routes when nobody's covering you. So, and, didn't do anything for Cortland. I like Cortland. I like Timmy Pats. Those contracts are for next year. Stop complaining, everybody. It's Joe Klatt says it's a dependent position. Yeah, Joe Klatt also said Connor Cook was a top 20 pick. So what the hell are we going to talk about that for? Like, it's just those contracts are to attract a quarterback next year. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, bring it on. And the Raiders still alive, man. The plucky Raiders.
Yeah.
No Darren Waller, Foster Moreau out there, Zay Jones. When the Broncos couldn't stop Zay Jones, it was like, well, you deserve this then. You deserve it. That's it. So the Broncos lose, and, well, maybe they win if the firings commence soon.
Yeah, and the offense, there's almost no offense in this game. The Javonte Williams touchdown was off of an incredible Bradley Chubb interception. Amazing. And it was a Bradley Chubb interception on a play that didn't even have to happen because it was a screen pass on deep
with
in the
time winding down in the first half.
Yeah, with like less than a minute left. You just run the ball and go to the locker room.
Right.
And Bradley Chubb said, no, I'm going to sky and tip this ball and catch it. And then Javonte Williams gets a touchdown. And that was basically the offense. Just a few downfield throws to Jerry Jeudy. No running game to speak of. It was the Raiders who dictated things with the running game this time around. And yeah, Denver, they're not mathematically eliminated, but please, hopefully we'll stop talking about them as a potential playoff team, although maybe we'll stop talking about the Chargers as a potential playoff team. And the Broncos could beat the Chargers team we saw today. They actually have already beaten the Chargers this year. The running game. The run defense. So, we'll see how that turns out. Vegas, they're spreading the ball around. Foster Moreau did okay for you. Hunter Renfrow got a touchdown. Of course, with Josh Jacobs grinding out the yards, it was Peyton Barber who got the touchdown. There was a point in the second half of the late game season where Peyton Barber and Khalil Herbert each got a touchdown within about 5 minutes of each other. And you could just feel it, the fantasy football tightness, the sweating. David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs, people who needed those touchdowns from those guys, who were both playing well enough that, it would have just naturally followed from the game they were having. They would have got those touchdowns. There's fantasy football for you. But they're staying alive, and they're going to face Indy. And I can't say, they're potentially a threat to Indy, even though Indy looks like, honestly, one of the 5-6 best teams in the NFL right now. So we'll see. We end up on the Steelers in the Broncos season. It feels senseless. It feels empty, right? It's Christmas time. Christmas time, it's the winter festival. It's the time when everything is kind of hibernating on Earth, and hopefully we just think about how neat it is to be human beings. Professional football is part of that. Us getting to hang out and be sports talkers is part of that. And then there's these teams like the Giants and the Bears and the Broncos and the Steelers, and it's like you eat at Arby's and nihilism and all that, and that's okay though, because it's really about us all getting together and watching football and being friends and being in each other's lives, and we've certainly had a good time with that. And for the first time, Cecil, we're going to have that into the new year. Fantasy football championships, you got to wait a year to find out who's champion. Next recap show will be next year.
Next recap show will be next year, and that will be interesting. I hope our rants did not disappoint, Bloom. I'm out of energy when it comes to talking about this team. Like, they're garbage. Yeah. Pat Shurmur's garbage. Like, it's just, man. And Javonte may not get 1,000 because he was like 185 away. What did he get? Like 17 yards today? Yeah. Like, seriously, come on.
Yeah, see, what's the song? All Cried Out. Was that what it was? Like 1980s R&B song? All Cried Out Over You, right? There's a certain point with some of these franchises, you have nothing left to give. And if you really want to get a rant out of me, Cease, if you really want to get a rant out of Bloom the day after Christmas, it's about how these teams are trading off of emotional investment that is based on something that doesn't really have much to do with the team. It probably mostly for a lot of people has to do with family, watching games with your family or your friends. You associate professional football with being around people you like to be around, and emotionally charged times that are bonding, right? And some of these franchises continue to get a trade off of that and just rake in the money and put out a terrible product because people are going to continue to, from the symbols, the logos, the colors of the team, the memories, the places, right? It will continue to keep them attached because we need those attachments. So yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to the fans of these teams that keep giving themselves over.
He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. The show is at the Audible. I'm at Cecil Lammey. And make sure you do all those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. We appreciate each and every one of you for riding along here with us. We've got our preview show. We're going to do one preview show again, Bloom.
Sounds good to me.
I think, yeah, it worked out well. And I think you're traveling
again
that day anyway.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So Wednesday we'll do one preview show. We will do a waiver wire show. It's probably going to be pretty brief. But anyway, so we'll have all that there for you. And then some. It is the Audible. It is footballguys.com as we're tying a bow on this fantasy football season. But we'll be back, as always, coming up on Tuesday morning. So everyone stay tuned for that. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible, everyone. Stay tuned. And as always, WNBC. Stay frosty.